Welcome to Australian Survivor Archives, the only podcast going over the complete history of Australian Survivor from Whalers Way right through to the current day. We are 3 episodes deep into Season 2 Celebrity Australian Survivor, and we are back for another interview, and we're very excited for this interview today. We've spoken to the first boot. We couldn't speak to the second boot because we don't know where he is. That's another story. But we've got the third boot from this season where we're going to learn everything from what she was doing out there to what she's doing now and everything else in between. I don't even want to take the honour of introducing her properly because I've got a man on the line right now who has been dying to introduce this lady to this show for quite some time. So I'm going to first of all say that my name is Ben Waterworth and hand it over to my esteemed colleague.
Hi all. Hi Ben. As you know, my name's Matt Dyson. And Ben, I appreciate you allowing me to introduce our guest today because as you know, all our listeners know, I did admit that this lady was actually my teen crush back when I was a teenager. I knew her as the White Witch on shows like Beauty and the Beast with Stan Zemanek. And of course, she ended up playing Australian Celebrity Survivor. And that's what we're here to talk about today. She's done so much. She's been a lead singer of a band called Def FX. She's got new books. She's written plenty of books. And we're here to talk to her about Survivor today. So I'm going to introduce you to none other than the White Witch, Fiona Horne. Fiona, thank you for coming on the show.
Oh, thanks, Matt. Thanks, Ben. That's a lovely introduction. Well, very well done. I'm very flattered I was your teen crush.
Well, you were, and so Fiona, just to give you a quick little background. So I knew exactly, of course, who you were when you were on Celebrity Survivor because you were, on the screens a lot back then. I remember you had the blonde hair. You had that earring under your lip. You had
labret piercing.
Yes, and I want to talk to you a bit more about that actually because I always thought you, out of everyone that ever had that earring, you were perfect for it. You just suited it well. So I don't think you have it anymore. So we'll talk about that.
No, call it a piercing. It's actually a piercing.
Well, okay,
not
piercing.
An earring.
Earring,
piercing,
true.
Yeah, a labret piercing, yeah.
Come on, Matt.
And
you should know that.
Yeah, and of course, I was a big fan of you back on the day when you were on the Beauty and the Beast with Stan Zemanek. I used to get home from school and I loved watching that show.
It was a great show to be a part of, to get to sit on a panel with so many, wonderful Aussie women. And Stan was such a honey. I know he played the Beast, but off camera, he was the most delightful, charming man. And then for a while there we had Doug Mulray in, as Stan. Sometime I know, Stan rest his beautiful soul. But when Doug came in, it was really fun too. But Stan, special place in all our hearts.
I actually forgot that Doug he took over, didn't he, from Stan?
He did, yeah. And I did a few of them with Doug too. He was a lot of fun, a good sport. We had a good laugh.
Look, honestly, I could sit here all day and talk to you about
Beauty and the Beast,
Beauty and the Beast, but we are here to talk to you about Survivor. But look, Fiona, just give us a bit of a background. Obviously, before Celebrity Survivor, you were in a band, but what did you do leading up, I guess, to become a celebrity and be on Australian Survivor?
Well, in a nutshell, I was in a band called Def FX from 1991 to 1997, and we had a pretty good run. We had a lot. I think we're the hardest touring band in Australia. We just toured nonstop for 7 years. Our touring also took us over to America and American record deals, and even songs that charted top 20 in the Billboard dance music charts. And we toured with No Doubt, and Blink 182 opened for us, and we shared the stage with bands like Smashing Pumpkins, and we did it, I think, almost every big day out from 91 to 97. My favourite big day out memories was, Soundgarden, the Ramones, the Pumpkins, Iggy Pop, Sonic Youth, Björk. I mean, we got to just, do these incredible shows, big events, and plus our own, headlining gigs were amazing, and our fans were just so wild and so much fun. We were, it was an incredible 7 years. And then after that, when the band finished, I started writing books about witchcraft because I'd kind of written songs that lent into my witchy kind of life, my spiritual path. But I came out of the broom closet, so to speak, in 97. And my first book, Witch: A Personal Journey, was published in 1998 by Random House. And it was a runaway bestseller. And by then I was doing, I was like Channel 9's girl. I had my own show, Party, on Channel 9. I was a guest music host for Ground Zero on Channel 10. I had 2 shows on Triple M. I had Sunday Homegrown with Jason Sunday nights, and I voiced the Planet Rock Top 20 countdown for a couple of years there. So I was definitely a Triple One girl, Channel 9 girl, a Triple M girl, sorry, Channel 9 girl. More books, I did a book a year. And then, long story short, that all was just so big and happening in Australia. And then in 2000, I also had incredible management. I was with Terry Blamey and Melissa Laguerre, and Terry managed Kylie Minogue as well. So he was developing things overseas for me in the UK, which is how I got my UK deal. And I was so blessed to have such a wonderful management team. And I don't think I realised at the time how lucky I was to have those kinds of people rallying and working with me. And we all worked very hard and achieved amazing things. And I got to America and I decided to move there in 2001 when my books came out there, and then kind of let Australia sort of settle back a bit, and I focused very much on working very hard based in Los Angeles. And I ended up getting a big TV show there called Mad House on the Sci-Fi Channel, another reality kind of show, but it was one of the very first of its kind, and that was an extraordinary experience to do back in around the same time I did Survivor. I'm trying to remember if I'd filmed Mad House, and then before it aired, I got the invite to come out to Australia because I also had amazing management in Australia by then. It was Terry and Melissa and I had agreed we'd go other ways because I was so in America and focused in America. And Jason Williamson came on board for me in the early 2000s, and he was the one that kind of got me into Survivor and all the opportunities around that. So there's me being my odd self, running around, doing everything. Writer, witch, musician, TV personality, radio host, rock star, rah, rah, rah.
Everything, being very busy.
But I was always very lucky to have great people kind of coordinating it behind the scenes.
Snake handler.
Yep.
Yeah. I got my snake handling license, and there were a lot of things. Snakes, as a witch, snakes are very spiritual, almost like a totem animal to me, in that they represent the ancient goddess, and there's a whole lot of myth and metaphor and spiritual insight that comes with the, understanding the physical lives of snakes as well as their maybe more spiritual aspects. So as humans would choose to experience. So, so that's how it all happened. And I got invited to go on Celebrity Survivor.
Yeah.
With that big C word in front of it. And I'd never watched the show, and I didn't really know anything about it. And except that Richard Hatch, the guy that did the first American Survivor and won it, and he was quite notorious. He was a nudist and gay, and but we had the same manager. And long before I was asked to be on, because I changed to American management when I got there in 2001, and I was with the same manager of Richard, and it was just interesting because for me to go on Survivor all those years later, I remember thinking, Richard, wow, I should have asked him for some tips, but I never did because I never knew anything about it.
Well, I
wish I had asked him.
Yeah, I was going to ask, did you get a chance to chat with him before you go out there? Like, hey, here's my other client, let's chat.
I wish I had, because I think he would have told me it's a game. You've got to be strategic. It's a game, Fiona, and don't take anything personally. And I approached it so very differently. It wasn't a game to me. It was my life. And I tend to, when I do things, throw myself in 500%, give my absolute all, and do the very best I can. And I forgot it's a game. And so I took it all to heart and took it very seriously in my life.
It's so fascinating that you mention about taking it as a game, because one thing that Matt and I have really noticed in watching and recapping the 3 episodes you were on is that you seem to have the game part of it actually pretty well done. You're forming alliances. You're talking about voting people out. You're in the challenge aspect. You're doing very strong. There's all these layers to the game that I think you have down pat. It was maybe the social side of things that I think we said maybe let you down and kind of led to getting voted out. So it's interesting to hear you say that you would treat it more like a game, when I think from a viewer's perspective, we're thinking, well, you've got that part okay.
Wow. Yeah. No, I think that was, if I did, it was a fluke. I don't know. I think the way it was all edited, you've got to remember with reality, it's so edited. And there's already scripts they've decided before you even start doing it, I think. And then if there's not enough drama, they come to you and they say, create more drama. And that's kind of my memory of it, is not realizing it was a game, being very sincere with people that if I was having a conversation with Amber, it was a sincere conversation, or the same with Imogen. But it's, yeah, I don't know how that, I never watched it after it was done. I've never watched any of the episodes. So I don't know how I was edited to look. I saw articles published about me saying I stole things and stuff like that. And I did. When we were doing the challenges, I remember New Idea writing something like Fiona stole stuff, sugar and safety pins out of a medical kit. And I did. Oh. I remember, when we were doing challenges in the early days, and we were woefully mismatched against the men. Those first, I can't remember if it was the first two challenges that, we all got quite hungry at a point. There was no food. Our area that we had to pick and forage on had already been picked out. I remember climbing like 30 feet up into a tree to try and get some tiny little green mandarins that were at the top so we had some food. But the men were winning the challenges because they were strong, we just couldn't quite get there across the line. And a huge rainstorm blew in. We were sitting in the van, and the girls were all, complaining, like everyone was saying how hungry and dizzy and tired they were. And I looked on the floor and I realised we were in the crew van. They'd stuck us in there while this heavy downpour came on. We were on another island for this particular challenge. And I noticed there were empty sugar packets on the floor that the crew had been eating their morning tea, their coffee, their whatever, and they'd left trash on the floor. And it was sugar packets. So I grabbed them quickly and I said, I'm pretty sure there was a crew person in the front kind of keeping an eye on things, but the rest of us were in the back of this van. And I quickly grabbed them and I passed them around to everyone. I said, quick, have sugar. So we would have some energy. We hadn't really eaten for a couple of days and it was all very, exciting but also challenging. The weather was really crap the first few days. And
wow.
So it was a lot of rain and so anyway, I quickly passed around sugar. And then there was another time where we were really hungry. We still hadn't won a thing. I think the first two challenges had happened and we hadn't won anything and we weren't eating, and everyone was struggling with that. We were on a boat to go to it, being taken to another island, and I noticed there was a medicine kit. And I thought if I took some safety pins, maybe I could make a fishing hook. So I did. I took safety pins.
Wow.
And out of the medical kit. Yeah.
That's crazy. How does New Idea find that out? How does New Idea get that information?
I think maybe someone who got voted out told them. I can't remember. I just remember seeing the article and it was like, Fiona Horne's a thief.
I just wish you lasted till the end now, Fiona. Imagine all the stuff you could have stolen over 25 days.
Well, the main thing was I didn't, it wasn't like I stole for me. I didn't eat a sugar packet. I handed it to everyone else. I don't know if I even got one, but I made sure everyone else had a sugar packet. And the safety pins were to find fish for us as a tribe. I remember the girls would complain because I'd wake up super early before the sun and I'd stoke the fire. So it was hot when everyone got up, and I would put yams in there in the morning so that we might have food later in the day. We were able to find some yams. I did forage for some yams. So my memories are doing things like that, and the girls getting upset with me because I disturbed their sleep. But I tried to get up so quietly, but so we could have fire in the morning, and Justin, when Justin joined, he and I worked we were a real team and worked, I don't know what was edited and what they made it look like, but he's a lovely guy and we knew each other from LA. So it was lovely to see him. And, but we sort of kept all that, our own friendship kind of quiet, I guess. But we worked really hard together to make things happen as far as cooking food, or he worked very hard to make the camp comfortable. I remember I designed this bed that we all built together, which was like palm fronds overlapping because there were always crabs climbing up on us. So palm fronds, banana leaves, and then pine needles. I noticed, I thought, if we all pick the pine needles, we can lay them on the bed and make a soft mattress. So my memories of Survivor are doing stuff like this. So if I was cut in the social, I remember spending hours on the beach looking through the sand for Amber's waterproof mascara. She was devastated when she dropped it and was worried she'd look ugly on camera or something. I don't know. So that was her luxury item, waterproof mascara. And I remember going through the sand on the beach for ages and I found it, gave it to her. That's another memory I have. So I don't know how they edited me to look socially, but, my memory is just trying to help people and taking it seriously, trying to get food for my tribe and trying to survive.
It does explain why Justin picked you first in the tribe swap. We were actually wondering,
Yeah.
we mentioned that in our recap last week. Did you guys know each other beforehand? But yeah, you just answered obviously.
Well,
in LA.
I want to make it very clear. We didn't know each other really well. When I arrived in Los Angeles in 2000, and you're an Aussie over there to make a life, I hadn't met Justin, but I was introduced to him because he was an expert at living in LA. He told me how to get a social security number, how important it was to, go into debt. He said, go to the Beverly Center and get one of those $500 limit shop cards and use it. You have to pay $500, pay it down, get a little bit of credit there, start building a credit history. This is a good bank you should bank with. This is how you get a driver's license. I mean, he gave me a lot of that basic get yourself set up wisdom. And then when other people came to LA, I became that Aussie that they came to and asked for advice. I remember I helped a few people who came to LA, actors particularly, how to get their identity set up, how to get a social security card, how to start living in LA, how important it was to go into debt to be able to get a credit history so you could get an apartment, you could rent an apartment or get a car or whatever. So that's how I knew Justin. We weren't big mates, but so I knew him just from that little bit of time, and never hung out with him socially there, or we weren't bosom buddies or anything, but definitely from that little bit, he helped me get set up. So when I realized it was him coming to the island, I was happy to see him. He was a very important part of me getting, establishing my life in LA back in 2001. Just that one afternoon, I think we sat and had coffee for a few hours. That was it. But it really helped me. And I was able to pay it forward and help other Australians when they came over. But yeah, the reason he picked me first was not because we were mates, it's because of the stuff we were doing behind the scenes. Like, he was the firemeister, he had the fire pit going. I was the one crawling through the dirt, digging up yam tubers and, and climbing trees for food. And, he and I were very much about taking care of the tribe. And if they edited that out, which they probably did.
Yeah, they did. Because we didn't see quite you treat, because all that sort of revolved around a lot. You were mentioning like the amber, like even hearing you say that you were trying to find Amber's mascara is interesting.
Mascara.
Because all we saw with you and Amber was that you were at each other's throats. You talk about getting up in the morning and Amber's going off at you because you're going on about fireflies, and then she's, angry enough with you, and that ultimately it seems leads to her voting you out. I mean, we didn't see any of that side of you.
No,
on the show.
no. Amber and I got along very well. She was, I told her I thought she looked like I thought she was beautiful. I knew nothing about her. I've been living in America. I didn't know her history as being a bridesmaid at Princess Mary's wedding, if that's correct. Yeah. So I only found all that out. But remember, there was around the time of the pig trial, where there was that very awful game, thing where with all the pigs, and it was really distressing. The animals, I felt really bad about what we're doing to the animals, and Dicko was goading everyone on, and the animals were squealing, and it was just really, I didn't feel good about that particular challenge at all. I remember her and I talking, I think before we went in and got all muddy, but I just, she was talking about how she wanted to work in TV more and this and that. And I said, well, you're very beautiful. You remind me of kind of like a 1930s, she had this elegant kind of 1930s Grace Kelly sort of, well, not Grace Kelly, one of those classic actress looks to her, with a petite nose and just her face, and lovely cheekbones and everything. And I said, well, this might be a good stepping stone. It might, this might get you a bit of exposure, and it's what you do with it after. And we had those kinds of conversations,
Wow.
So, yeah, I mean, that's why I was so shocked and hurt when I was voted off, because I couldn't understand how that had happened. I thought it was very different to the friendship that I thought we had. But if they edit, I've never watched it, so I don't know how they edited it to make it look. So what I heard in the aftermath of it all was when David and the footballer, what's his name?
Elton.
Elton, thank you,
Yep.
thank you. David and Elton, when they came to our tribe, that I'm pretty sure that's when I was voted off. I was told that they got in Amber's ear and told her she needed to vote me off because I was too strong. Now, I was told that after the fact. I'm pretty sure David himself told me that, because we ended up having lunch at Government House months later. He invited me to lunch. I thought, well, how interesting. I'll have lunch with David. And I'm pretty sure that's when he told me that, oh, yeah, we went to Amber and told her to vote you off. But my understanding is, and I've never watched it, but didn't they vote her off the following episode?
They did, yeah.
Yeah,
They
that was their
certainly
plan.
did.
They actually saw that we were friends, I think, or that we had a soft friendship, a gentle friendship, or, we were just two girls who chatted quite a bit. And I think that maybe they were clever about it. Again, that's where the strategy in the game comes. Those two were strategists, and they voted her, get her to get me off, and then they vote her off straight away. And I think that was where the strategy came in.
I'll actually backtrack, Fiona. Just want to like straight away. This is awesome. I get to go to Vanuatu and play this. It is an amazing game, Survivor, once in a lifetime opportunity. Or is something that you really wanted to do? Or is it something that they had to convince you to do?
Well, it's a great question. I think when my manager said they were interested in having me, I just felt really excited. I mean, Survivor's, kind of like it's a institution, so it was kind of like, oh God, I hadn't even ever thought I would do something like this. And then it really appealed to me, the idea of being on an island. And I had been to Vanuatu before. As a scuba diver in my late 20s, I took myself there on a couple of holidays, and I'd climbed Mount Tanner, and I'd dived down and seen the President Coolidge wreck off Espiritu Santo. I mean, I loved Vanuatu and I loved the people. So the opportunity to go back there again, I was down. And it just all sounded very interesting. And kind of fun, and they paid us to do it, which I appreciated, because I was in LA trying to build my career, and it's very hard over there. So the money was good. I was also going to be able to donate to my charity of choice, which is Ocean Awareness. I donated $5,000 to the Paddy Ocean Aware, charity that they do for shark conservation. And so I was just it just seemed like a really great thing. And Jason said, it'd be really good. It'd be fun, great for your profile, and he was always looking at ways of kind of trying to help me survive and do what I could in Australia while I had stuff going on in America.
Fiona, I know you might not want to answer this question. We're obviously going to put this question to everybody we get on the show, and it's entirely up to you if you want to answer it or not. Can we ask how much you were paid to go on the show?
I can't remember exactly. I think it was $18,000. Okay. And I think I donated $5,000 of that to Paddy. I think, yeah, something like that. But it could be less, because I know that, I don't remember, because I don't make anything like that these days. That money, I look back at the sort of money I was offered back then, I'm like, but, you don't have a sense of its value. I think you just I guess I could humbly offer, I was a little bit of an it girl, in the sense I would look back at myself and think, wow, I was offered money like that to do things. And, I was paid $2,000 to walk into a nightclub, it was an interesting time that I don't think I at the time realized what that meant financially. I would take my friends out to lunch and pay for everything, and take my girlfriend shopping and pay for everything. I didn't have a perspective on the value of it, so I don't have a super clear memory. I think it was $18,000.
Matt does all that stuff now with his celebrity. 5,000. Matt uses his celebrity to take us all out for lunch and gets paid, I think, a couple of $1,000 at a nightclub, don't you, Matt? That's kind of what happens now, isn't it?
When I need it. But what about...
It was so long ago. It's just, but what I'll say quickly is, that I always had a dream as a little girl to live on a tropical island. That beautiful turquoise blue water was always my favourite colour. And I just... the experience I had of being on Survivor, my favourite memories are, lying under the stars on a big banana leaf that was a towel, because you don't have anything. So the giant banana leaf was like a towel because of all the little crabs and everything climbing around on the sand. And I'd go out when everyone was in bed. I would go out and lay under the stars. I wrote a song about it on my solo album that I did after Survivor. There's an album called Witchweb, and there was a song called Lost in the Woods. But it's like it's a memory of lying on that banana leaf looking at the stars. And in the lyric it says, the stars so close like cherries, ripe in the sky, I let their sweet light blind my urban eyes. Because the stars were so close, I felt like I could pluck them out of the sky like cherries. And, I let their sweet light blind my urban eyes for good, lost in the woods. It was this... There was no light pollution in Vanuatu. The sky was so dark and deep, and the stars were so bright. And I loved the opportunity to do things like that, to go out alone on an island beach, wander down to the creek in the morning and wash naked by the creek and use a stick to clean the dirt out from under my nails and a coconut shell to pour water on my head to rinse my greasy hair. You know, it was like I loved they're my favourite memories of just that time merging with nature and feeling safe, because you always knew there was a crew or someone around if any weird bad stuff went down. And it just mean like as a woman, you don't often go to really remote places in nature and feel safe alone. And as a little girl, I always felt very safe in the bush. And then you have experiences where guys follow you and you're threatened in some way. And so you, as an older person, being in a very remote environment, I felt this beautiful sense of freedom there. And that was my favourite memories of being on Survivor. And I think that it really inspired me to make an island my home. And so I did. 7 years ago, I moved to the Caribbean, and I lived on a small island in the Caribbean from 2013 to last year. And I ended up building a career as a commercial pilot over there. I did humanitarian aid, put together a couple of aid missions and volunteered my flying to do all that to Haiti after they suffered a massive hurricane. And then I worked as a pilot as well for the last 4 or 5 years, flying up and down the island chain. And so I can look back and think of Survivor and how it inspired in me this passion to make it possible that I could actually go and base myself on a tropical island, and I made it happen.
And you actually know Russ Landau from...
Very well,
yes.
Yeah. Russ is a good mate, fellow pilot, and love him to death. And I mean, yeah, when we became friends, we met when I was at flight school in Santa Monica doing my instrument rating, and he walked in. I was at American Flyers, and he'd done his flight training there. He's a private and commercial pilot. He owns his own aircraft. He's got a fantastic helicopter and a beautiful beach. Which beach has it got? Beach Baron, particular. It's the pressurized Baron, so it's like Baron P. I don't know. I can't remember the number. Anyways, but he's got great aircraft as a rotor and fixed wing pilot. And so we just became really good friends, and it was just kind of an aside that, you know, we're saying, we're having coffee. He's like, what do you do outside of, I said, I used to be in music. And he goes, I'm in music too. What do you do? Oh, I wrote all the music for Survivor. And I said, you're kidding, I was on Survivor. And then now we're like really good mates. Yeah. So when you approached me to do this show, because obviously we talked about this over a year ago, I was hanging out with Russ at the time, and because I was in LA when you called me in a break between, because I go back and forth between the Caribbean and California and LA and always see him. I told him I was going to be doing the interview with you, and
well,
really
I interviewed Russ many years ago. It's funny, actually. You know, I've sort of, and kind of he and I talk, you know, randomly every now and then. But yeah, it's interesting. I remember you mentioned that. And then, you know, sort of learning here that you started off, you know, management there with Richard Hatch. There's all these weird connections that you have. Like Survivor was almost meant to be for you.
I would have to say, as a witch, when serendipities and synchronicities like that start to manifest, you actually... I mean, it's a great point you're bringing up. I think, there was kind of like the universe was steering me towards this remarkable experience without me kind of realizing with my conscious mind. And I can look at a lot of my, life like that. I mean, I'm well into my second half of, I'm more than half a century old, and I'm into my life. I say you don't have to grow old, you can grow better at living. I try to. But more than half a century on the planet. And I can look back and go, wow, like I've done some really extraordinary things, like not even like you might say, being commercial pilot, humanitarian aid worker, fire dancer, rock star, witch, writer, blah, blah, blah. But, I've got to do things like Survivor.
Yeah.
I mean, just how lucky. I mean, when I die, I'm going to look back at my life and go, wow, I just have had this remarkable opportunity to try so many things. And I hope that the lessons I have in them, like if I've written about it in a book after that or talking about it, I hope it's useful for people, that if I learn something along the way, that maybe they can learn something from my experiences. But I don't want to run out of time with you guys. I know we're chatting a lot. I have got my original Survivor.
Well, I was going to quickly mention to you.
I wanted to show you because I can't believe I have it.
Well, I was going to mention, because I want you to, before we let you go, I want you to plug your book. But before that, you're all decked out here, for our video. People watching it, you've got your gear, you've kept this. Give us a quick rundown of what you still got 15 years later.
I've got the Moso, bandana thing. I've tied one around my head. So this is the most extraordinary thing. When you guys contacted me all that time ago, I mean, I've moved house so many times, and I packed up my whole life, moved to a little tropical island, and I had left a few boxes of things in storage in LA. And I had the opportunity, I think when you first contacted me, I was in California visiting my friend who lets me keep a few boxes in her garage. And I thought, oh my God, I think I still have that bag. And I went through the boxes. There's only not a lot of boxes and they're only small, but there it was. And it's the original bag they gave us.
Nice.
And it was including the original waterproof bag because my luxury item was my tarot cards.
Yes.
That the producers asked me to bring my cards. And I said, oh, because you're a witch, maybe you can use it to predict who's going to get kicked off the show or something. And I said, I'll bring them if you'll let me have a waterproof bag. And they did. So I was allowed to have this waterproof bag. And so I had, and look, I've still got all this stuff in here. It was really eerie opening this bag. It's a time capsule. I had no idea it was still, that I kept it, again, moved house so many times and, but here I even have like a shell from there. And
fantastic.
And it's just mind blowing to see all this stuff. I even have a hair tie that I wore. It's still got those pine needles in it that I talked about.
Wow.
And look at this, a safety pin.
I was going to say, did you have any sugar packets in there?
The stolen safety pins, and no sugar packets, but I do have, I have the original Moso map, because when we were on the boat, the girls all just looked at me and they gave me the map and said, and I think I was the oldest in physical years of all the girls. And so they kind of looked to me like, oh, can you take care of this? And I did. But that's the original Moso map.
Which, Matt, can I just say, Matt looks as rubbish in person as it did on screen too. Whoever designed that map really didn't have those artistic skills, did they?
Handwritten in pencil or something. And then look, here's one of the original tree mails that had one of the challenges written on it, where we had to go and what we had to do. And
that's fantastic.
They burned the edges. Can you see how they sealed the edges off with the, So I actually think they did a lovely job of trying to make it fun. I mean, all the producers and people, my memory is that everyone was really, really lovely. To improve it's hard to read this, it's kind of faded a bit. To improve the summer of your little society comes a challenge with a lot of variety. Winning this will be quite a thrill, but it's important how little you spill. So if you're really careful, wherever you tread, you'll have sweet dreams tucked up in bed.
Oh, Matt, she does better than you.
That would be the one.
I haven't read that out loud for 15 years. So there you go.
Ben, would that have been the one where they had the coconut and they had the water, and then I think it was Ben Wynn's first challenge that he was involved in.
Yeah, it definitely was.
Yeah, it must have been that. And then look, this is the Celebrity Survivor rules. I still have the original contract stuff in here.
Jeez.
And then I have my schedule for Fiona. Now the way I live and work now, I kind of like, I'm a one-woman show now and I do everything. And I, looking back and saying, wow, I was given a schedule. It wasn't just me writing a long list and checking it off.
I think what we might need to get you to do, if it's okay, is maybe take some photos of that when you got a chance, and we can sort of have a bit of a look, and we can post them on.
And then you can have a look through it.
Yeah,
we can
absolutely. Because that's some great keepsakes. I'm glad you've kept all that.
I've even got the pair of socks that I had on my feet, I guess.
Do they still smell?
No. They don't. I don't, to my knowledge, have smelly feet. This I really love. Look, this was something they gave us, tiny pieces of soap. They did, and so I think, or did I steal that too? I'm not sure.
Stolen.
I wrapped this up in a banana leaf, or something, like some kind of palm frond. And look, I still have this soap, this piece of soap.
Fantastic. That's
look at this.
Crazy.
It's like, isn't that amazing? And there it is.
Wow.
That's the soap I washed myself in Vanuatu with.
Survivor
so it was
soap,
a
Matt.
lot. Yeah. When I kind of opened the bag and saw all this stuff and thought, oh, I've got the opportunity to talk to you guys about this. And I'll show you one more thing. That's the dreadlock of hair that I pulled out of my head.
Wow.
After so many challenges and not being able to wash my hair. And I had these massive dreadlocks. So I pulled them out, and that's my hair.
Wow.
So, and as a witch, we kind of find meaning and, in items of the natural world, whether it's a shell or, even your hair. So I think from my perspective and how I treat things I've kept in my life. Like when I climbed a sand dune in Namibia, I flew myself around Namibia 4 years ago, and I climbed a sand dune and I collected some sand and I kept the sand. And that's what I brought back. That was my souvenir, the sand from my sock. Like, I tend to find objects and items of the natural world very meaningful. And so it doesn't surprise me that I would keep these kinds of things, like a little shell, a little stone, my hair, a banana leaf, wrapping some soap,
Fiona, you mentioned about your tarot cards there that were your luxury item. On the show, you did mention that you burnt some of them. Was that true?
Oh, yes. And that was one of the things that, again, in editing it out, when I heard they edited out that scene, I decided just not to watch any of it because I thought I don't want to see how they portrayed me. It was, but yeah, what happened was, I think it was the second night, there was a massive storm, and we were freezing. By then, Justin was with us, and we'd made this bed thing, and we'd made our shanty lean-to shack thing, and we're all working very hard on all of that. And so it was Justin's idea that we all curl up and like spoon each other to stay warm. But it was so terribly cold, and we had nothing dry to burn. We really needed to make a fire. And my memory is, and I could be wrong, but my memory is the producers came to us and said we could be taken to a hotel for this one night if we wanted to. And we weren't sure. My memory is we weren't sure if it was a trick or it was real. And we decided we'd all stay and muscle on with it. But it meant getting the fire going, and it meant snuggling up and staying warm. And we had nothing dry to like Justin was trying to light the fire and get it stoking, and he couldn't. And I remembered I had my tarot cards. It was the one dry thing we had. My tarot cards, which this is one from the original deck, because I didn't burn all of them, I burned some of them, but this is that deck now. The card actually looks like this when it's only been read a couple hundred times. This is what they look like now, really worn all those years ago. So this is the same High Priestess card, but
wow.
I keep her with my tarot. But so the cards were in this waterproof bag. So I took them out and I removed, I think, 4 or 5 of the cards, and I burned them. And that's how we got the fire going.
There
and I decided that, and we stayed warm that night. We survived. We heard the men were evacuated with hypothermia. Again, that's my memory, that they were evacuated because they were so cold, because they wouldn't cuddle. We all spooned, stayed warm, got the fire going. True survivors. Again, it wasn't a game to me. I thought it felt like real life.
And the men were evacuated.
So I decided, my memory is that I was told they were removed because it was too cold for them and too wet. And I remember thinking that, and I'm pretty sure I said this in my elimination, that I decided the survival of my tribe was more important than a pack of cards I'd had for 20 years or 10 years or however long it was. And it was 20 years. It was more important than a pack of cards I'd had for 20 years. Yeah. And that's why I burned them.
Mention that to Dicko. Yeah, Dicko would ask that question to you on the night you got eliminated.
So I was kind of shocked that they, when I found out they cut it, why I burned them and what all that was about. So again, I didn't watch the show. I couldn't, because I kind of thought they're going to portray me in a way that isn't real. And I was still taking myself seriously back then, and I definitely wore my heart on my sleeve a lot as a young woman. So I had to just kind of protect myself a bit and not watch it.
It would be very fascinating to get you back on one day and maybe get you to watch it and see kind of, because it's a fun thing to kind of do that, to see that. Fiona, we're going to let you go, but before we do, just final quick question. If you want to give me 30 seconds, I know I wanted to give you more on this, but I still want you to plug it. You've got a new book out right now. You're touring Australia right now with this. Tell us a little bit about your book, where you can get it, and also plug yourself, plug your socials. Where can people find out more about you?
You're so kind. And, even though, I appreciate you rushing to get me off, I've got to, but would you allow me one more thing to show you?
I will allow you everything you want. Like, it's you that's got to go. We can keep you here for another 5 hours. We don't mind.
I'm sorry. Yeah, it's a hectic day because I have got a new book out and I'm doing a lot of media and stuff, and I've got to drive 3 hours to go and do a Channel 7 TV show.
Channel 7, who cares about them, right? What are we talking about this season? That was 15 years ago.
No, I love the morning show. They're just so lovely on that show, so I'm looking forward to seeing them. But anyway, I'm wearing the bandanas, because that was the other thing I had in this bag, was the 3 bandanas we were given, or actually 4. I'm wearing one as a tube top, which is what we did then, as a bandana, which I don't remember if I wore one as a bandana then, but I think I did. And then these. Now, again, what's so eerie about getting these out of the bag 15 years later when I haven't opened it? They still have the dirt and sweat on them.
Wow.
And it takes me back to this time. I mean, it's like, and how lucky am I? And I don't have a lot of memories. Like I'm a minimalist. I let go of a lot of things, and like I have mental memories, and I've written books about my life and this and that, and interviews, TV stuff. But to actually hold things and go, oh, this is actually what I wore. It brings everything back. So I'm grateful.
Incredibly valuable. Can I just point this out? Not that you would ever want to depart with that, but buffs are a rare commodity in Survivor fandom, and the original, well, actually any Australian buffs, any Survivor buffs are highly, highly sought out. The one I'm wearing right now is from the Channel 9 one. These alone go for several hundreds of dollars. Your season, I believe, has never, ever had them released to anyone except the players. So you could auction that for charity. And fans of Survivor around the world would pay a buckload for those buffs.
Well, that's a beautiful idea and great to know. I think, that would be a really great thing, because I'm astounded that I have all this stuff here, and it's great. I'm so happy to get to share it with you guys. I love that you're doing this podcast. It's amazing. And I just wanted to share one more thing about the tarot cards. I did burn them. I continued tarot cards. It's a tool of divination. And in my personal witchcraft, it's a tool of service. I offer readings and consultations with people who are looking for me, trying to direction in life, understand that maybe the obstacles aren't there to stop them, but to guide them to other opportunities. So try and help people navigate their lives in a useful and productive and positive way. So I had the opportunity to buy another deck of those cards many years later. They didn't make them anymore, but I found, a collectible item on eBay or something, and I managed to get, the full set again. So I have the full set of the cards again. But I continued to read them. I continued to read them with the missing cards for many years after it, understanding that, my experience in divination is to kind of, align with the higher power of my understanding to assist and be useful in the person's life who I'm helping. So I just worked with it without them, and still was able to help people usefully and appropriately. But it was lovely to be able to get a full pack again and,
I'm glad. I was actually going to ask you, Fiona, if you burn a couple, does that mean the whole pack's useless then? But you just answered it that it sounds like you're still able to use them.
I use them because I've read them for so long, thousands and thousands and thousands of readings, and I have an intimate relationship with them. There's 72 cards in the deck, and I was able to work around it and trust that, because the way not that this is a lesson on witchcraft, but if I'm doing a reading, divination of some kind, I feel the information comes through me, not from me. So the cards are kind of useful as a tool to get my conscious mind out of the way and allow guidance to come through me, as well as determining what's being shown in the images. And I made it work, and I was able to help people. But at the time, it was a really big deal because the cards were very important to me, and they, it was a lot to burn them for my tribe, but I felt that it was appropriate at the time.
If you're ever in Canada, Ben's never had a reading done before. So if you're ever in Canada,
I do readings. I do readings over the phone more often than not. I have clients all over the world, and I actually love it when I can't see the person, and I ask them not to tell me anything. Let me just do a read without you telling me anything. And just usually not even with Zoom camera, but just on the phone. I find if I can't see the client, I'm even more accurate, because I'm not distracted by physical affectations or maybe assessments my egoic mind might make about the clothing they're wearing or the look on their face. If I can't see anything, and from my perspective, trusting that my connection with them as a witch, using my intuitive ability, is it's actually more accurate if I don't see them. So I do readings all the time. If you want one, let me know.
Oh, well, we will. Trust me.
People can get readings with me by going to my website. It's fionahorne.com.
Yes.
And there's a link up there that says chat. And I don't usually advertise it. I just let the universe find its way to bring people to me when I'm useful for them. I don't go out of my way to advertise. But there's a little thing that says chat. And if you click on that, you can reach me. And, I love helping people in person, but you can be anywhere in the world and do
My
it.
birthday's coming up, Matt. There you go. That's what you can.
We'll make it happen. We'll definitely make it happen.
Fiona, you mentioned your website, your social media, people can find you there, and your book, it's Teen Magic. People
Teen
can buy it
Magic.
now.
I've got a copy here. I'm so excited.
There it is.
You know, I know you guys, we're chatting now. I'm on the road mid-March in Western Australia, where I'm based now. Teen Magic is my 14th book, and it's Witchcraft for a New Generation. It's addressing the things that weren't around 17 years ago. I wrote a teen witch magic book 17 years ago. This was originally going to try to be a reprint, but I basically just rewrote the entire book. Because back then there was no social media, there were no smartphones to any great significance. There was no TikTok, Instagram, you know, blah, blah, blah. So there's chapters in this about social media and how to make it magical. There's a big section in it about gender fluidity and, you know, the LGBTQIA community, the Rainbow Witch, and what their place is in the magical world and how they find a sense of community and belonging in modern witchcraft. Lots of spells, boring class spell, horrible teacher spell, you know, just a lot of stuff for the young and the young at heart, I guess. But I've loved the opportunity to release a book for young people and, you know, particularly teen witches. And, this getting to go out on the road and connect with people at these all ages interactive events is amazing. And so it's all on my website, fionahorne.com. I wanted to get over to the eastern states in Australia, and I was booked to do Tassie and Sydney and Victoria, but with the continuing, you know, instability of how everything's being managed at the moment in these extraordinary times, I'm staying put in Western Australia and just doing the tour here. And I will be releasing it. I'm filming all of them, and I'll release them for download at a later date for other states.
Great.
Before we go, guys, I just I've been looking through the paper while we've been talking and saying goodbye, but looking through all this stuff I have here, and I found something really extraordinary. This is a letter that I wrote to producer David Mason. It's on Lee Meridian Port Vila Resort and Casino letterhead.
Wow.
When I was voted off and I was so distraught and everything. Do you want to hear it? Because I remember I wrote this. I hand wrote two out because I made a mistake on this, I think. Yeah. And so I decided I would write it out neater and hand it to him, the better version of it. But I have this as a copy. So, dear David, mind you, I had been sobbing, and this was the next morning at the hotel, and I remember it was pouring with rain, and I was still crying that I'd been voted off Survivor like that. So hurt that these people I thought who were my friends, that were my tribe, had, you know, thrown me away. So it was what it was. Anyway, dear David, thank you so much for your generous patience with me last night when I was so emotional. I'm still very sad this morning, but deep down, I know I must move on from one of the most remarkable and fulfilling experiences of my life. Thank you so much for including me in the cast of Celebrity Survivor. It has been such a privilege and pleasure working with your crew. Again, I'm just so impressed with what you are achieving here. Everyone has been absolutely fantastic. I always felt cared for and yet free to be a true survivor, if that makes sense. It's kind of what I was talking about before, guys. I said, like, laying on the beach. You know, you get to have this completely, I'm a castaway on a tropical island, but I'm safe. You know, It was an amazing thing to experience. I think your crew and producers were unobtrusive and professional and all round better than anyone I've worked with in reality productions overseas. I must have already done Mad Men House, but they were good. Anyway, so as sad as I am to leave the beautiful paradise that our Moso tribe world had become, I feel like the luckiest girl in the world to have had the opportunity to experience it at all. I wish you all the very best with the rest of the production, and I know you have an enormous success on your hands. Congratulations, and if I have the opportunity to work with you in the future, it would be an honour and a pleasure. Love, Fiona.
Wow.
That's the goodbye letter I wrote to the producers because the night when I got voted off and they took me to the bar, and I just was a hysterical wreck.
That's beautiful.
There you go.
I'm so glad. I'm really glad, Fiona, that you've read us that letter, because I think that's one thing that maybe people think about your season, that the players on the contestants maybe didn't really care about actually playing, and that, you know, it's just a celebrity version. But, you know, like, this is an insight to exactly what you were feeling you know, hours after you were voted off. And that is like any other normal, you know, contestant of Survivor, that the emotion of being voted out, the emotion of not winning and wondering what went wrong, why people voted you out. So I'm so glad. I thank you for sharing that, because it gives a really good insight of you as a Survivor player.
Oh, thank you, guys. Again, it puts a lump in my throat a bit to be reading it, but I feel very blessed to have had this. It feels like a little bit of closure for me. Like I said to you, when I got voted off, it was so hurtful, and then I could never watch it. And there were these articles coming out in the magazines after, and I just still never watched it. And then so it's kind of like healing and closure for me, which I really appreciate as well.
Do you think you ever will watch it?
No, I don't want to. I don't, maybe if I'm like, I don't know, maybe in another few decades or something, if I was looking back at my life,
we'll get you on, we'll say, like, special project, Fiona Horne
when I'm 80 or something.
Yes.
But the thing is like, I think the way I try and live now, because I'm still living so many lives, and, I think it's healthy to plant your feet firmly in today and move forward with gratitude and try to be useful in the world and of service in the world. That's how I function now. And I find I have peace of mind for that reason. And I was, I didn't have that sense of self-preservation, ironically a Survivor show, but I wore my heart on my sleeve. I might have survived physically, but my heart was like, I might have survived diving down and dragging up these heavy pieces of wood, and there's sharks around, and I might have, but I wore my heart on my sleeve, and my heart was a little bit broken after that. And I think this is healing for me, and it's enough. I can just move forward now.
Well, Fiona, we're glad that we've been able to help you with this today, maybe be a bit of a therapeutical outlet for this 15 years later. So it's been definitely learnt a lot and everything along those lines. And I'm going to close myself right now and say thank you from here, and I'm going to hand it over to Matt, because, you were his teenage crush. I feel like he deserves to have a little bit more time right now with you to close this out. So Matt, over to you.
Now, Fiona, I just want to say, look, I've enjoyed watching you on those earlier shows like Beauty and the Beast, and to see you play this game of Survivor. You are a great player, and I would have loved to have seen you go a lot further, but the 3 episodes you were on, you gave us so much, and I'm just glad that David Mason put you on that show, and to hear everything about it today is fantastic, and that you still do love the game of Survivor. And I just wish you all the best, and I wish you all the best for this new book that has just come out.
Thank you so much. Thanks, Matt. Thanks, guys. It was awesome.